الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ولا تباشروهن وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد تلك حدود الله فلا تقربوها كذلك يبين الله للناس كذلك يبين الله آياته للناس لعلهم يتقون. Respectful friends, from the mujahada that a person undertakes, or the mujahada that the mashayikh have prescribed in order for a person's spiritual upliftment, the certain mujahada that have been prescribed. One is taqleelul ta'am, to eat less, taqleelul kalam, to speak less, taqleelul manam, to sleep less, and taqleelul ikhtilat ma'al anam, to reduce intermingling and interaction with people. In the month of Ramadan, these mujahadat also come in active as well. By means of the fasting throughout the day, taqleelul ta'am takes place as it is, less eating. Although we make up for it in the evening, that's a different matter. But throughout the day, the maqsad of the fasting is taqleelul ta'am, that a person will eat less. By means of the Tarawih Salah and as well the various ibadah that a person does throughout the night, taqleelul manam also takes place, wherein a person is going to reduce their sleep. The more a person sleeps, laziness sets in as well. And these are mujahadah that they have prescribed. The third is here, which is taqleelul ikhtilat ma'al anam, to reduce the interaction with people, to reduce your intermingling with people, ikhtilat. And this ikhtilat side, this is something that takes place, or this mujahada takes place by means of the itikaf. That along with there being the reward of itikaf, and from the reward of itikaf, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that the mu'takif, a person who is in itikaf, is saved from sins. That as long as they are in the masjid, a person is not very easily going to start sinning in the masjid. Although it's not necessary that this doesn't take place, it does do, especially when a person does not refrain from various types of conversations. Similarly with regards to control over the mobile phone. So it can still exist within the masjid as well. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that a person who is in the masjid, who is in itikaf, is saved and protected from sin. And he gets all the rewards that others are doing or can be done, meaning that although such a person is restricted to being in the masjid, but they still continue to get the reward of those who are not doing itikaf, in the sense of if there is a janaza and they cannot attend the janaza, if somebody is ill and they cannot attend to see that person, the mu'takif will continue to receive the reward of all those, despite them not being able to do so. So whatever other goodness they would have been doing, had they not been in itikaf, they will continue to receive the reward of that whilst being in the masjid, whilst being in the itikaf. One of the prime benefits of a person doing itikaf, and although this is not specific now, that it has to be related to only those who are doing the itikaf during 10 days. Itikaf, the reward of itikaf, a person can gain any time that they come in the masjid. We've come here now for Asr, make the intention of doing itikaf. So as long as we remain here till Maghrib Salah, that entire period can be itikaf. A person comes to the masjid for any salat, for any talk or for a few moments, person makes the intention of itikaf, then he is also a mu'takif in the masjid. Although during the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, you have the sunnah itikaf, which is done specifically by certain individuals who have now brought themselves to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can say permanently, for the final 9-10 days according to what the month is. So that is the sunnah itikaf that is there. But when it comes to the reward of itikaf, each person can acquire that. A mu'takif, whilst he is in itikaf, and this is something that is mainly towards them, but every person can benefit greatly from this, and that is to benefit maximum benefit from a person's itikaf. And the purpose of itikaf is that a person comes into seclusion, so by coming into seclusion, they can devote themselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if a person is in itikaf but still not in seclusion, they will be defeating that purpose. So that is that a person is in itikaf in such a manner that they are now separating themselves, staying away from other people. And the more you are away from people, the more a person has a chance to be able to take stock of themselves. As long as you're too preoccupied, you cannot take stock of yourself. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala mentions, "Hasibu anfusukum qabla an tuhasabu." Take stock of yourself before your reckoning will take place. Before others will take stock of you, you take stock of yourself. How can a person take stock of themselves? The only way is if they actually look towards themselves, focus towards their inner selves, that what changes do I need to bring about within myself. And this is something a person, a mu'takif, has all the time on their hands to be able to do that. And in general, in the month of Ramadan, every person can be doing this, and every person should be doing this on a daily basis, of taking stock of where we are, where we should be and where we are. We focus ourselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we look within ourselves, and we look at what wrongs are within us, what we need to rectify. A person, as long as a person keeps on looking ahead and in front of him or in front of him, he sees whatever's in front, but he forgets to look at himself. He looks down, then he remembers to look at himself as well. When it comes to our faults in that, we do look at others' faults. We're always looking at other people's faults, remembering other people's faults, and doing so, we forget about ourselves. The moment a person starts to make muhasaba, a person starts to take reckoning of themselves, that's when they will be able to realize, and all those faults of theirs will now come to the forefront. They'll understand that these are those things that I've been doing for so many years of my life, that I'm always mentioning about others, that he's always lying. Whenever he talks, he's lying, he's fibbing. But if I look at myself, then I'm the same, that whenever I speak, I'm lying as well. I look at somebody else and speak about somebody else, and whenever he speaks, he's got inappropriate language on his tongue. But then if I look at myself, then I find the same within me as well. I look at so and so and I see that his earnings are a bit dubious and dodgy or haram or so. But then when we look at ourselves, then we might find that those things are occurring within us as well. So there are so many wrongs that we may be able to see and witness in others. But until we do not actually focus upon ourselves, look at ourselves, we won't see our own wrong. And until then, we won't be able to rectify and change those wrongs. When you don't think that you're wrong, then you're not going to make any changes. You need to know or understand or realize that you are in the wrong in order for you to be able to make those changes. And this muhasaba is something that leads towards it. And for that, a person needs to be in seclusion, move away from people, focus solely towards themselves. It is for this that we have the itikaf. So that whilst in itikaf, a person can actually do this, that they can seclude themselves and come solely on to focusing upon themselves. That's why it's important that the mu'takif should also seclude themselves from fellow mu'takifin as well. There should be limitation in how much we interact, how much taqlilul kalam, how much we yapping on, how much we talking as well whilst we in itikaf. Because these things are those things that can deprive us of the actual benefit, the full benefit of the itikaf. That the more a person is going to be, just focus on yourself, focus between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how a person, that's why it's very important for itikaf, from the adab of itikaf as well, is that such a person should not do itikaf who's going to cause hindrance to any other person. For instance, a person when they sleep, when they snore, they don't just snore. You won't know it's snoring, you think there is a tractor mowing the fields. So if a person snores, etc., I remember as a Hazrat Rahmatullah in Karachi, from those who used to ask for ijazah to do itikaf in the masjid, one of the conditions was that they do not snore. They have to fill in a form that they do not snore as well. Because a person thinks that they are doing something good. They're carrying out the sunnat deed, ibadat of doing the itikaf. But in that now you're causing taklif to somebody else. Then for a sunnat you're committing a haram. So priorities need to be sorted as well. And also on priorities, one masla as well, that when it comes, what is the position of the itikaf during the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan? The itikaf of the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, these 10 days, this is sunnat muakkada alal kifaya. Sunnat muakkada alal kifaya. Why is it sunnat muakkada? Why is it wajib? Despite the fact Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did it quite regularly. The reason being is because in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't emphasized on it as any other wujub would be. So for that reason it is not wajib. Similarly, there is mention of itikaf in the Quran, as I've mentioned to you in the verse وَلَا تُبَاشِرُهُنَّ وَأَنْتُمْ عَاقِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. That is there. On the basis of this and the fact that Nabi Qasam did it punctually, there's mention of it in the Quran, but it's not emphasized as much as wujub. The ruling is that it is sunnat muakkada, meaning a sunnat that was greatly practiced by Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, alal kifaya. Alal kifaya means that it is not incumbent upon every person. It is a sunnah that if just one or two were to discharge it, the position or the duty of that sunnah is discharged from others as well. Meaning it is alal kifaya, which means that it is not sunnah muakkada on each and every individual. So if in one masjid, even if one person carries out the itikaf, then it's no longer sunnah muakkada on everybody else. And if there isn't anybody to do the itikaf, then it will remain sunnat muakkad on every individual. That is the position of the itikaf. What is the position of salat with jamaat? The position of salat with jamaat according to the Ahnaf is between wujub, one opinion of wa'ib bin wajib, and the other is that of sunnat muakkada. The least being that of sunnat muakkada. And here there's a difference between the two. One is alal kifaya and the other is sunnat muakkada. And being sunnat muakkada means that it is sunnat muakkada on every person. Not that if the Imam Sahib and Muazzin, they do the Jamaat in the masjid and that is fine, it is everybody else is discharged from it. Which means in comparison of the two, the itikaf, the position of the itikaf is lower than that of Salat with Jamaat. It is lower with that of Salat with Jamaat. Hence, in priority as well, it is very good that a person does the itikaf during the last 10 days in the month of Ramadan to reap the benefits from it. But remembering that the greater importance to that is that of Salat with Jamaat. And the purpose of the itikaf is that these 10 days is firmly remaining in the masjid, performing all our salats with Jamaat, should make us one that after the itikaf we remain punctual with our salat with Jamaat. That is the maqsad and purpose of it. So priority-wise it is good for a person to be lifelong punctual on the itikaf. But more important than that is that of what getting the priorities right is that of salat with Jamaat. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse as well, وَلَا تُبَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَأَنْتُمْ عَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. Allah ta'ala mentions, and do not have such close relationships with your wives whilst you are doing itikaf where in the masjid. Allah ta'ala specifically mentions عَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. Itikaf is where in the masjid. Because the act of itikaf a person can do anywhere. A person can go in the jungles and do it. You can go in a hotel somewhere and quarantine there and do it. You can go in a cave somewhere and do it. You can go anywhere. Stay at home and you can do itikaf at home as well. Meaning itikaf is what? To be in seclusion. Nowadays people are isolating as it is. A lot of itikaf is taking place. Some can't wait to get out of the home itikaf. Some can't wait to get out of the home itikaf. So there is a lot of itikaf. Itikaf is taking place as it is. Itikaf is a seclusion. So this seclusion itself, just the act of seclusion, a person can do that anywhere else, anywhere for that matter. Go there and just sit there on their own. and do the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here Allah ta'ala says, وَيَعْكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ, to show that the place of itikaf, that's why one of the rulings is that where will this sunnat muwakkada al-kifaya itikaf take place? Such a place, a masjid wherein the 5 times salat takes place. That's where it is incumbent. It is sunnah al-kifaya there. So the fact that Allah Ta'ala says, fil masajid, shows that the place of itikaf is in the masjid. Why in the masjid? To show that although a person is in itikaf, that they have devoted their 24/7 solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but even with that, they are still not free from being away from the Jamaat, Salat with Jamaat. They are still not exempted from the Salat with Jamaat. But even if they want the maximum benefit of the itikaf, it has to be in the masjid, because the masjid is where the Salat with Jamaat takes place. If you are going to be in your itikaf somewhere alone in seclusion somewhere, you're not going to get the salat with Jamaat there. So you are still dependent on what? The masjid. That is what. And another great hikmah here for why Allah Ta'ala mentioned masajid as well, to show that the balance between the sunnat muwakkad al-kifaya. That Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, from his migration to Madinah Munawwara, did it continuously. But it was something that those did it who did it, and those who did not do it, nobody looked down at them for not doing the itikaf either. Hence here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by mentioning al-masajid, means that there might be those who feel that look, they are doing the itikaf, so they are, pride can very easily come into an individual, that look, they are doing itikaf, especially if it's a masjid when only one person is doing it. And they say, look, I'm the one who, look, you don't owe me a favor. No, you owe me. I'm doing a ihsan upon you that I'm fulfilling this duty. Some places where nobody does it have to pay somebody. Sometimes they make it tashkil, as from far people go just to get somebody to sit there, because nobody wants to do itikaf. Because nobody wants to do itikaf, people have to pay somebody, or they have to make tashkil, please do the itikaf, please do the itikaf. They have to go around asking people to do itikaf. So in this way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing that what? That at the end, it is you who are in need of the musallis, because if the musallis are not going to be there, you're not going to get your salat with Jamaat as well. So you're both in need of one another. So nobody can feel that they are better than the other. And the fact that we come to the masjid for salat with Jamaat, or the fact that we're doing the itikaf, all of these things are what? These are the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is what? It is not of our own doing at all. Only that person can come to the masjid who Allah calls to the masjid. Only that person can do itikaf who Allah Ta'ala wants to do itikaf. Only that person will go for Hajj who Allah Ta'ala calls for Hajj. There was once a master and his slave, and they were traveling, and they traveled past the masjid. So the slave asked the master, said to the master, look, it's time for salat. Give me permission, can I go and read salat? Go into the masjid. So the master said, fine, okay, go, you read your salat. So the slave went into the masjid and he started reading his salat. The master, instead of going into the masjid, he just sat on the doorstep. He sat on the doorstep waiting for the slave to come out. Other musallis have come out and the slave's not coming out. He's where is he going? He's looking at the time, he's taking a lot of time. Then eventually he came a bit closer, so he came where? He came by the struc area, for example, here, struc area here. And from there he's like, trying to get attention. Nobody's listening. Then he's calling out from him, saying to him, why are you taking so long? Why are you taking so long? How come you're not coming out still? To which he said, he's not letting me come out. The slave said, what? He's not letting me come out. Wait, who's not letting you come out? The one who's not letting you come in. He's not letting me out, who? The one who's not letting you in. The one who's not allowing you in is the one who's not allowing me out as well. So it is tawfiq only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And upon that we should be doing shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that any good deed that we do, any itikaf that we do, any salat with Jamaat we do, any khidmat that we do, any hajj or umrah that we do, any naked that we do, that we boast upon it, it is all through the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah ta'ala is the one who has given us. If He doesn't call us, we cannot respond. If Allah ta'ala doesn't give us a tawfiq, then we cannot do anything at all. It is all what? It is all the grace, solely the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is these type of things that a person whilst in itikaf gets a chance to contemplate over these things. That's why if a person isn't doing the sunnah itikaf, then itikaf, as I mentioned, anytime. Come just for a couple of hours and just sit in the masjid. Wherein now you putting everything else aside everything of dunya and everything related and everything surrounding you, other things on your mind, put that aside. Just sit and focus just between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Looking first towards our inner self, towards those things that we need to change and rectify. Be concerned of our own self, and then focus towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that how we can make this change within us and connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Haji Imdadullah rahmatullah alayhi, who is Haji Imdadullah rahmatullah alayhi? Haji Imdadullah rahmatullah alayhi is the Sheikh of Hazrat Hakim Ummat Thanwi rahmatullah alayhi. Hazrat Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, Hazrat Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi rahmatullah alayhi, great akabirin ulama. He is the Sheikh and the Murshid. There was one murid of his whose name Maulana Sadiqul Yaqeen. Maulana Sadiq Yaqeen. He spent many years with Haji Imdadul Rahmatullah Ali, and he spent those years with him in Makkatul Mukarramah. And the whole maqsad was for his reformation, for his islah, for him to reach the maqam of nisbat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he spent many years there in the company of Haji Imdadul Rahmatullah Ali. Then a period of time came wherein Haji Imdadul Rahmatullah Ali said to him, look, whatever I could do from my side, that I have done. But the change is still not coming within you. The change is still not coming. You do this, you rather leave from here now and return to India and go and see Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi. Go and see Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi instead. So he left from there and he came to Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah Ali and mentioned to him what the situation is. Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah Ali said to him, okay, and he banned him and stopped him from two things. He said, what you do is from today, you stop teaching hadith. You stop teaching hadith, that is one. And the other, he said to him, stop seeing patients. He used to see patients and give them some prescription, his own homemade type of prescription and that. So he said to him, stop doing these two things, teaching hadith and seeing patients. So he stopped doing these two things. And when he stopped doing these two things, and why he stopped as well, because these were those people who were sincere in wanting to bring about a change. We know that there's faults in us, but we don't want to change. These were those who were sincere. It wasn't a case of, how can I leave teaching hadith? Why should I leave my patients? And why should I do this? And why should I follow something which is difficult for us? Our condition is, if the Shaykh tells us certain prescriptions, do this wazifa, do this ma'mulat, or do this, that which is simple and easy something for us, and that is very easy, that is good for us. The moment we come towards the difficult side or so, then that is it, we don't want to go down that route. It's a case of just pampering all the murids the whole time. Pampering the murids the whole time. So here, Hazrat Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah Ali said, leave these two things. He left these two things. And in a very short period of time, he reached a position where he needed to. A change came about within him. A change came about within him. By change, we're not talking about our changes, where I wasn't reading Salat, now I'm reading Salat. We're not talking about those type of changes. We're talking about spiritual changes here. And why? Because the majority of the work had already been done by his Shaykh, Haji Imdadullah Rahmatullah Ali. But now what happened, he transformed, the transformation, that which was lacking and needed, that transpired. And afterwards, then what happened is, he was given permission again to carry on with what he needed to do. Afterwards, when he inquired with regards to what's happening, how come all of a sudden this change within him, to which he was told, either Maulana Gangohi or Maulana Haji Imdadullah said to him, that these were two things which were hindrance in his transformation. And that is what? Always been occupied with people, in the students teaching them hadith. Always been preoccupied with his patients. Because of these two things, he was not getting that ikhtilat, the time to be in seclusion on his own to think about himself. Because of that, his tarakki, his change, that had been limited. And now when these two things were stopped, now he had a chance to focus upon himself, and when he started focusing upon himself, that transformation and change came about within him. That is why Haji Imdadullah Rahmatullah Ali sent him and put these two things on him. But why did Haji Imdadullah Rahmatullah Ali send him to Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah? These were people who Allah Ta'ala granted that maqam and position, who were true mashayikh al-tariqat. The reason being is because Haji Imdadullah Rahmatullah Ali had never taught hadith. He had never taught hadith. And neither did he give any prescriptions, medical prescriptions. Whereas Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah Ali was doing both. So if Haji Imdadullah Rahmatullah Ali had said to him, but you stopped teaching hadith, He made a thought to himself, by how Hadith Sahib, he doesn't teach Hadith, so it's easy for him to say don't teach Hadith. So he sent him to someone who was doing both. So now when he said to him, by stop, he said, did you teach the entire siyasat on his own? And he would see patients as well. So it came from somebody who himself was doing those, so that would have a better effect upon him. It would have a better effect on him. And when that took effect on him, a change came about within him. So after all those years that he spent where? In the company of Hadi Imdad after all, the Shaykh of such Mashayikh and that. So there was no kami there was no deficiency there, but the deficiency was within him, and the deficiency he was too much preoccupied with others, even for good things as well, doctor-patient relationship, ustad and student and that, not giving any due towards looking at oneself. And whilst a person is in itikaf, this is the opportunity that a person gets, an opportunity to look towards themselves. And this is something that even whether we are in itikaf or not, as I said before, these are days in the month of Ramadhan that look, our hearts become softened and mellowed, and our hearts become inclined towards goodness. We become inclined towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We become inclined towards ibadat as well. So that is a time wherein, along with doing these things, and more we are of coming and going in the masjid, spend some time wherein we make muhasabah of ourselves. Make muhasabah of ourselves as to look where are we in our lives. And also the fact that, look, in the month of Ramadan, if we are somewhere where we feel that we have made some progress, what do we want to achieve from that progress? Where do we want to go from that? From progress, do we want to go down? That this is only limited for the month of Ramadan, or do we want to work upon that and build upon that? What is it that we want? What is our condition? If we were to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in what condition are we going to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? These are things that a person can only think about when a person moves away from the world, moves away from people, sits in seclusion and contemplates over these things. And these are the days whilst a person is in itikaf or coming to the masjid, or those who are at home, the mothers and sisters at home as well, when they have the opportunity to do this contemplation, so that it helps towards the rectification of our inner selves. Allah Ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq and understanding. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين